At this point, I'm going to ask Matt to come and join me. We're going to do a bit of an ant and deck. We're a little bit taller than ant and deck, but apart from that, we're very similar. So, what is cybercrime? We've all got different opinions on what cybercrime actually is. But in real terms, in basic real terms, cybercrime is any kind of crime that involves a computer or electronic mobile device. So basically that's any device, quite frankly, that's connected to the internet. That is cybercrime. Examples, hacking. It could be identity theft or even child pornography. It's still cybercrime. We can divide cybercrime up into two categories: crimes that affect people and those that affect businesses, loss of services, DOS attacks, and loss of data breach. At this point, Matt, if you'd like to expand on those points, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Firstly, a bit more about us. GCHQ, some of you will be aware of, Government Communication Headquarters in Cheltenham, and they really are responsible for protecting the UK's critical national infrastructure, which is water, gas, electric, and how we, the Ministry of Defence, Army, etc. There's two elements to GCHQ. There's computer network attack, which is what we do to foreign intelligence services. It's happening every day, and some of you will see in the news that we're getting attacked by the Russians, etc. Every day that's happening. The second half of that is the National Cybersecurity Centre, which is talking about computer network defence. How we defend our systems, our services, our businesses from becoming victims of a cyber attack. Three things really we need to look at. Pop next slide for us, please. Confidentiality, integrity and availability. Three key things. Confidentiality of your data and your information, how we keep it secure, how we keep your business, intellectual property, your databases, your CRMs, your designs, your high-level designs, your low-level designs, your client base. How we keep that secure from your competitors. That's the first thing. The second thing is integrity. How we make sure when we save that information, in whatever form it is, into a database or into a server, that when we go back to retrieve that information, it hasn't been subject to any unauthorised changes. That someone hasn't got into that information and changed it. So when you go to use it again, it's different. And the final one, probably the one we're going to labour on a bit about today, is the availability of data. Your data needs to be available to your business when you need it, where you need it. Yeah? And really, today is more about the availability bit, but we'll touch on some of the confidentiality and integrity.
Thanks, Matt. So, how bad is the problem? I'm not a lover of statistics, but I think when it comes to internet fraud, cyber attacks, all the rest of it, some of these statistics really do bring home that every single one of us in this room right now is at risk. And when I talk to people about cybercrime, one-to-one, whatever, the phrases I hear are, well, I don't really use my computer for internet banking. It's bigger than that. It's not about that. It's not about what you necessarily do when you're on the internet. But we've got to start thinking a bit broader about the effects that it has on our local economy. For every single company or individual that gets defrauded, that's less money that goes in the economy to spend on the services that we're all trying to sell. So we all have a responsibility when we go to a Wi-Fi hotspot to actually not be cheap, use our 4G, to use a VPN, to be more responsible and think about the bigger picture and the effects that it's having on all of us. These statistics are from 2018. 4.5 million cybercrimes were committed in England and Wales over 12 months. 4.5 million. 3.24 million were fraud offences, and about 1.23 million were related to computer misuse, encompassing but not limited to child pornography and hacking. Now, they're such huge numbers, it doesn't really impact because they're just a big number. It doesn't mean anything to you. But when you start looking at it from the point of, well, actually, when it comes to businesses, 2018 Cybersecurity Breaches Survey estimates that 2 in 5 businesses have been subject to some form of cybercrime within the past 12 months, 2018. Average cost of around £3,000 per business per cybercrime. Quite frankly, if you got seriously hacked and the most it costed you was £3,000, you got off lightly. Okay? Matt, do you want to add anything to that one?
No, just a few more statistics really on that. There's been a 350% increase in ransomware attacks since 2017. The cost to the worldwide economy has been something in the region of £9.5 billion, and that's just through ransomware attacks. But we'll cover on that later, mate. We'll touch on that later. So yeah, it's not a small problem. It's a worldwide problem, and one hopefully that we can throughout today make it so that you're not one of the victims of those problems.
Another scary statistic: 25% of UK residents have been a computer crime victim. That doesn't mean if you stuck 8 people up, definitely 2 of those people, but as you start looking at the numbers on a broader range, 25%, a quarter of all UK residents have been affected or defrauded. And that's money that's going straight out of our economy. And that has a direct impact on all of us trying to grow our business. What for you, Matt?
Okay, so what is it the bad guys aim? We talked about confidentiality, integrity and availability. They're the 3 things they're trying to get from you. Ultimately, it's malware on your device, malicious software, and that comes in many forms. It can be a Trojan, which is a piece of, looks like a normal piece of code, but within it is embedded some malicious code. And once you click on a button or at a certain date or time, that will start processing on your processors and your hardware and servers. How does it happen? Okay, there's 2 ways we can do it. It stores a rootkit. I won't go into the technical detail, but a rootkit is a name that we give to a piece of bad software. Once you get attacked by a cyber attack, what they'll try and do is hide some bad software, bad coding on your system in amongst your normal files or your normal data. And what that does is then that establishes a means of activating that virus or that malicious software. That malicious software will then try and do something, and that is report out. Okay, so it's all well and good that software capturing your database or your important information, but it needs to be able to get it out to the bad guys. That's done through a thing called a covert channel. What it will do is that software will look for a means of an egress point on your network, a way out, and that is where you connect to the internet. Yep. It will hide that information that it's sending out in normal transmissions, emails, etc. It will wrap them up into that, and as soon as it hits the World Wide Web, it will then know where to go back to the bad guy's IP address, and then he will get the information that we'll talk about later.
Now on your tables, we've given you a fairly scary looking schematic. We're not trying to make today be all about technical, we're not trying to breed a load of engineers. However, there is some level of detail that we do want to communicate that it's hard to do without touching on some of those points. So we're going to take it in bite-sized chunks. Matt's going to take us through it. Don't look at it as a whole and go, this basically looks like Japanese to me. Let's just take it step by step.
Okay, phishing, smishing. So what are they? Many of you would have heard about phishing attacks. A phishing attack is where an email arrives or you get sent to a various place in the World Wide Web and it asks you to click on something and enter your personal details. What they're doing is they're phishing for your user account information, yeah? What your credentials are, what your passwords are. Smishing is a reasonably new one, and that's where it arrives as a text message on your phone. It says ring this number, and that number is normally one of these numbers that you pay £5 a minute for or £5 a second, and you end up giving someone loads of money and you don't know it because you've just rung a number. And when you think you've hung up, you haven't. It's still, the line is still live and you're still paying for it. Next one, file hijacking. So this is where we talk about ransomware. This is where someone gets some malicious software on your system and then your really important database has got all your client contact details on, gets encrypted. Yep. And then what you'll have to do is you'll get a nice little email that'll say, dear Mr. X, your files have been encrypted. We would like you to pay us, and it's normally in bitcoins, which is a cyber currency. We'd like to pay us 800 bitcoins or whatever. Yep. And we'll talk about whether you pay that or not later.
800 bitcoins at, what is it, $11,000 per bitcoin now?
Yeah.
It's scary.
Webcam managing, it's very difficult now to buy a laptop or a device that doesn't have a camera on it. And what they try and do is they take over the webcam. Sometimes you get these emails saying that they've caught you doing stuff X, Y, and Z. But normally what they'll try and do is take screenshots of what's behind you. So how many of us in the offices have got big whiteboards that have got really important stuff on, like passwords, account details, and they'll take screenshots of that and they can they can do that through your webcam. Screenshot managing. It's enter your computer and take screenshots of your display. So this is the actual display that's on your computer. So whilst you're working away, you might be going into a bank account, entering your login details. It captures the screenshot and then uses that covert channel to get that information back out to the bad guys. Key logging. Key logging is an interesting one. To do key logging, you need to really have physical access to the environment that you want to attack. And we'll talk about threat actors a bit later. Key logging is where someone installs, unbeknown to you, in the line between your keyboard and your PC, or they put a little USB intercept device in if you've got a USB keyboard. What that will do is that will then intercept any keys you press in a stream. It will capture that, and then later on the attacker that has installed that keylogger will come later on into the office. It could be a cleaner, it could be a visitor to the office, it could be one of your competitors that you brought into your show and tell, it's because you're going to do something together. They will then get that information, take it back, download the information out of the keylogger, and they can see exactly what keys you pressed and what your passwords are and how you do stuff.
I would say from my perspective, key logging is the one we see the most of. And people are just always very confused about how do they find this information out, and then you look at the machine and lo and behold it is been hijacked. And every single keystroke you're typing into your bank is being seen by someone else halfway around the world or next door.
Ad clicking, this is really where, again, very similar to the phishing. You get sent to a site, you think it's an advert, or you're surfing the internet for something. It's not a real site, it's a fake page you've been sent to. Looks very real, smells real, tastes real, however it's not. You then start clicking on things and it takes you to a false set of web pages. Next thing you know, you're entering the details, and we'll go into a bit more detail about that. Just a quick one on all of this, obviously talk about the key logging. My company does quite a lot of work in the technical surveillance countermeasures piece. I've just had a team come back from South Africa where we do bug sweeps. It sounds very James Bondish, but you'll be surprised how many boardrooms, it doesn't take long to put a device in. I can give you a 2-pin double adapter, an extension lead that's got a listening device in it. I can dial it from anywhere in the world, from my iPhone, and I can listen live to a conversation going on in the room. It's really simple.
It is very scary. Very simple and very scary. I think the ad clicking one, again, we see that a hell of a lot. A few years ago, I remember we had an instance with a particular client who, they rang us up because they were concerned that their banking interface was asking them repeatedly for their PIN numbers. So they asked them for the PIN numbers one time, then it refreshed, asked them for them again, and it was a different sequence each time. Eventually you're going to give the whole thing across. And they rang us because they were concerned. They said, this isn't real. So we went over, had a look, and lo and behold, the website that had been built was identical in every way to the NatWest website. Even the other pages that you could click on were identical. To this day, I don't know how they did it. It was, everything was the same. And it got to the point where I said, look, the only way we're going to know really whether this is a legit website is let's call NatWest. Eventually got through to their customer service at a high level, and they said, yes, we are aware of it, but there's nothing we can do. We can't tell everyone in advance that this is happening. Just for now, don't use internet banking, shut it down. And we took his machine away and had to wipe it and start again.
Just went on the personal cybercrime. It says personal, but that's business related as well. That can happen to the business. So business cybercrime then? Two kinds really. The first one is file hijacking, ransomware. And this one, as we talked about earlier, seeing more and more of this on a day-by-day basis. Yeah, it's really easy. Someone gets a bit of software, bad software on your devices, and first thing you do is just encrypt everything. Your email, your Exchange, your database, everything. And first thing you know is you'll log in the morning and you get a nice little message that will say, your files have been encrypted, give us some money. Second one, distributed denial of service and denial of service attacks. This is really focusing on, so remember we talked about confidentiality, integrity and availability, file hijacking, availability of data, you don't get access to it because it's encrypted, you've lost it. Distributed denial of service and denial of service attacks, that's really where your business needs to connect to the internet. What they will do is the attacker, they will either directly attack your machine with a much more powerful machine, they will bombard it with requests, and eventually your machine will go, I can't take any more, it will collapse. Or distributed denial of service is where hundreds, if not thousands of machines have been taken over, they're called bot zombies. Yeah, and at a certain time, at night or at day, they will all attack your machine that is facing your firewall, for example, and they will bring it down because it will just get overloaded and go, I don't know what's going on, and it will just fold itself in.
Now, one of the things I was very keen today to make sure that we did was give you all some ground roots, very simple go-tos and insights that you can take away and start looking at your own business and home networks. So let's pose you a scenario. You're a small business, your internet infrastructure is very simple. You've got your broadband coming in, you've got your router that BT gave you or what have you plugged into your broadband, and you've let it do its thing, it's configured itself and it's broadcasting its BT Wi-Fi, and the people that you work with, you've said, well, look, yeah, just use the Wi-Fi, da-da-da, so they get their phones out, and they jump on it, they bring in their laptops, they jump on it. Great, you're a great boss, they love you to bits, you've given them free Wi-Fi. However, what you may well have inadvertently done, is this very simple diagram. You've got the internet, you've got your simple router, and you might have a Wi-Fi access point. Generally, your router's got the Wi-Fi built in. That's your company to the left, and these are your staff mobile phones and tablets, all the rest of it. You've given them Wi-Fi access, they're straight into the Wi-Fi, the same network that your business is on, and now you've amalgamated all of their devices along with yours. These devices can potentially see those can potentially see those. If those are breached, those eventually will become breached. Does that make sense? Yeah, really simple. So that's a really easy takeaway that you can go away, look at your setups and go, right, we need to do something about this. But I did promise you some free tips for you to go away and start doing today. So, how do you make the network stronger? You need to separate your staff devices, if you want to give them Wi-Fi, from your business devices. So, very, very simple, and I'm sure many of you already know this, but I'm sure there's going to be people in the room right now that don't know this. By setting up a simple guest Wi-Fi and limiting your staff to using that guest Wi-Fi, you've created a virtual block. Those devices will not easily be able to see those devices. You're not fixing those devices. You're merely stopping them from breaching onto your network. You're stopping me from coming with my dodgy, dirty mobile phone from getting through to your devices. And it won't be me that's done it. You know, my phone will be infected. I won't even know. But if my phone has been used as a conduit that Matt's already told us about, and you allow me to come onto your same network, I come into your servers, someone around the world come into your servers. It's a mess. So, create a guest Wi-Fi, give your staff the guest Wi-Fi. They will still love you as a great team lead and a great boss who've got free Wi-Fi, but you'll be protecting everything that Matt's been telling us about. And that's a really, really simple win. An engineer, any of my engineers could do that in an hour. We wouldn't even have to come on site. And that is a huge difference to your network. Yeah, so take that one away. One for you, Matt.
Okay, criminal hacking. One of the threat actors we have, we're called script kiddies. They're kiddies that just do this as a bit of fun. And what they want to do is write some code and then chuck it out there and see what happens. The other option you get is professional hackers who target a particular organisation. I did this 8 years with the National Crime Agency, Serious Organised Crime Agency, and we were getting attacked 40, 50 times a day by organised criminal organisations. Quite a common thing. As it says there, you often hear, and a bit of a segue, British Airways has just been fined £183 million. Marriott hotel chains just been fined £90 million, I think, for GDPR breaches because they've had databases that have been stolen. Those databases are yours, mine, credentials, where we are, who we are, what our bank account numbers are, etc. because we've used those services. Yeah, and all those databases are up for sale on what we call the dark web, which is a mirror of the World Wide Web, but it's for bad stuff. Yeah, so those databases get stolen and then they get pushed out across there, and then people buy them and use those credentials to attack your systems. Yeah.
I got a bit happy with the clicker there, so we'll talk about malware.
Okay, malware, malicious software. We've talked about that. But that really is that Trojans, viruses, worms. They've all got crazy names, but basically what they're meant to do is to go through your random access memory, which is your processors for your PCs, and what that'll do is that will scrape information off of there and export it through the covert channel that we talked about earlier. Yeah. Human error. From some of the statistics we have within the National Cybersecurity Centre, 70% of attacks and 70% of breaches are caused by human error, by your people not having suitable training, education and awareness. What looks good, what doesn't look good, how can I stop this from happening? Yeah? Train your people and you will go a long way to actually preventing things from happening. Social engineering, this is becoming more of the flaw. We do this quite a lot within my company. A couple of local councils have asked us to do this. And this is really where you have hardware, which is the tin that your network's made of. You have software, which is the code that runs on that tin. And you have wetware, and we're all wetware. Yeah? We are very, very susceptible to bribery, blackmail, compliments. And what happens is, through social engineering, I would employ someone if it's a task I would set. One of my guys would set up a fake LinkedIn account, set up a fake Facebook account. He would then friend you on network. He would find out where you worked. He would then friend someone else on the network, and then, as happened with one of the examples up in the Midlands, even one of the heads of the council friended him. So all of a sudden he had a connection. Next thing you knew, he'd got booked into the council offices. He was on site, and that's really simple because what you do then is you do a bit of enumeration on the organisation. What colour lanyards do they wear? Do they wear blue lanyards? What time do their shifts change? How do they get into work? Are they checked? Is there a fire door that people hold open with a fire extinguisher so they don't have a cigarette? Yeah. All that sort of good stuff goes to form the big picture. And what that means is then you can get into that organisation, physically into it, yeah, or electronically into it, because someone thinks you're someone you're not. Privilege misuse. This is really all about how you manage your network. This is making sure that your systems administrators are, not everyone is a systems administrator for a start, yeah, because they get access to your crown jewels. They can bring your network down. So if you only need 2 administrators to run your networks, you only have 2 administrators. Everybody else is what we class as a normal user. They get the minimum rights and the minimum privileges to do their day-to-day business. Do not, as I've seen hundreds and hundreds of times, everyone's an admin account, which means everybody can get access to everything, and you really don't want to be doing that. Physical actions. So as it says there, it's not just about the technical bit, actually it's about getting into the organisation. Someone could physically just break into your organisation if you don't have the physical controls in place. Once they get in, the options are easy for them. Smash stuff up, steal servers, literally physically take them with them. Yeah. So again, your physical infrastructure, and we'll touch a bit on that towards the end, is critical to how you protect your. It's all about that bits and pieces, all make the big holistic security around your organisation. And what you don't want to be, you know, when you walk down the road and you see the house with all the CCTV cameras outside and the high fence. Nice, but doesn't have barbed wire on it, but it's still a high fence. You're going to, any thief is going to give that house a miss. They're going to go for the easy option. Yeah, so it's all about making your organisation not look like it's the easy option. Yeah, make them go somewhere else, which isn't nice if it's you're the one that they attack. But hey.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, most of you that know me know that I like to have a little bit of fun now and then. So, as it says there, it's a bit small, so I appreciate you can't see it. Time to get your phones out. So, you don't get your phones out for me. Okay, if you can go into your Wi-Fi, those of you that haven't already, well done, good. You get top marks. Those of you that already went on the Wi-Fi and saw a network called Dudsbury Golf Superfast Free. Can you all see that? That is not real. That is not a real, legit Wi-Fi hotspot. That's me, just doing it from my phone. And what I'm also doing is I'm actually scanning this network for any unencrypted data. I can see you've all been very good this morning, you're pros. No one has actually jumped onto the network, so you all deserve a round of applause. So give yourselves a round of applause if you have to. Because that's as generous as I'm going to get this morning. Had you jumped onto this hotspot, and had I been bothered enough to sit there and go through all of the lines of code that are going through, I would have been able to basically decipher any unencrypted information that you were sending across that network. That includes passwords, passwords to your iTunes library if you just want to listen to some music. I would have been able to see that. It would have taken some time. And the scary thing is, this bit of software is free. It's free on the internet, you just grab it. So, let's go one step further. Let's imagine I am a criminal. Let's imagine I don't have a full-time job and place to be. I might go to a coffee shop, and I might set that up in a coffee shop. And you'll come in because you're busy, you've got an hour to spend before you go to your meeting, you go to the coffee shop, you jump onto my Wi-Fi, it doesn't ask you for any passwords, even better for you, oh God, I'm so fed up with passwords. Great, I'm on, no password. I'll just sit there and I'll just grab all this. And I can actually save this, take it home and go through that code in my own time. And I've got nothing else to do. It might take me 2, 3, 4 days to piece together a skeleton of, you know, your social media account, your banking even. You need to not use Wi-Fi hotspots. That's what I would say. Matt, you might not agree. I would say, if you're not sure, don't use Wi-Fi hotspots. Just use your 4G. Don't be cheap. Because ultimately, the couple of quid it might save you, it's going to cost you a fortune. Yeah, does that all make sense? And it's that easy. It's free software. Hotspot, I could set that up anywhere. Yeah? So, the things I'm sharing with you today, what we're really hoping is that you're going to go away and actually start spreading the word. The more you share with your family, your friends, your business colleagues, all the rest of it, looking at your office, everything, the more we're going to start to clamp down on exactly this type of thing. Demand deck bit. Very quiet in the room. I think that hit the spot. So how do these breaches occur? Matt?
Okay, so this is a typical example of a email that's arrived that you assume is from the bona fide sender. Some things you might see is, you might see spelling mistakes in the from address. Yeah, tiny, like a 1 instead of an I. Yeah, things like that. An extra dot dropped in somewhere. Could be exact. You look at it quickly, and you think, oh, that's great. If, however, you do want